from another studio to help build community in your city. Once pairs have been established, you can assign a video swap as part of a student's at-home practice. Video swaps can actually be anything. A video swap could be a short technical exercise, such as a scale or a simple cadence, or even a drill that the student is working on, such as an etude. A video swap could be a short passage that you have given the student to isolate and to do a lot of repetition with. A video swap could be a specific skill, such as creating dynamic contrast, working on syncopated paddling, or even just listening to obtain better balance. A video swap could be a review piece, or it could be a piece that a student is preparing for a performance. It's also possible for a video swap to be a student-free choice. They can swap whatever they desire. Keep in mind that students do not have to swap the same thing. One student could be swapping a technical exercise with their partner, while the other student, the partner, could be swapping a piece that they're preparing for a performance. Let's take a second and look at an example of a video swap. So you can see here we have two students. The student on the left is very young. She is 4 years old. And the student on the right is a little bit older. She is 8. You will listen and hear that they are actually swapping the same piece. But for Annie, the student on the left, this is a new piece for her. And for Evie, the student on the right, this is a review piece for her. Let's listen. All right, and here's Evie, her video partner that she swapped with for that particular week.
Eggs, 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 flying through the air, 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 landing in the dirt, 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 smashing in the ground, ground, ground.
Okay, so this, you can obviously tell that both girls were having fun, and when you practice, it's an isolating event. You practice by yourself, and when you bring video partners into the practice session, you are helping to facilitate some type of social connection within the practice setting that is typically something that you do as an individual. You know, Annie felt really encouraged because an older student was playing something that she was playing. Evie felt very special because she was helping Annie to learn something that was review for her but new to Annie. So, what are the logistics for video partners? Fortunately, almost everybody has a smartphone that has a camera on it. But even if they don't, laptops or tablets can be used. And for children, I have found it is helpful to assign a specific day for the video swap. Like on Tuesdays, you should expect a video from your partner. For adults, however, it's best to let them choose the day that suits their schedule. The outcomes of video swap is pretty simple. It's fun. It's a non-threatening way to perform for someone else. Students tend to practice more because they are doing lots of repetitions to capture a video that they're proud of, that they want to send to a peer. It does create camaraderie among students within a class or within a studio, and it connects you to your students throughout the week. I know I like my students to send me copies of their video swap as well as to their partner. So if I want to supply some feedback, I can do that as well. They are also excellent ways to start RMM classes. Do you have several adult students who take with you privately? Or do you have several teenagers that take with you privately? Several young students? Video pair them together for a couple of weeks and let them meet one another via video and then get them together for a class. You'll be surprised at what might happen. So video partners is one way you can connect with your students between classes. Another way is listening. In an RMM class that I was teaching with adults, we were learning a very simple arrangement of the entertainer. So that week I sent out a text message of a recording where Scott Joplin is playing his own original composition. So students heard and you get the idea. Then I put the prompt, comment to this thread after you listen. Did anything surprise you? What did you like? What did you dislike? And you're getting students to think about, does that sound different than the arrangement that I'm playing? How does that tempo compare to my tempo? And hopefully it will make them want to go practice, which is the point of that particular listening assignment. Often adults will find other arrangements and other examples of a particular piece and include those on a thread within their text messages. I have done listening links with emails, and I've done listening links with text messages, and I have found that students tend to respond more often if I send them through a text message. So that's just the experience that I have had. So a simple one, but something that will keep your students engaged in making and listening to music throughout the week. And then finally, I want to talk about, did not mean to turn that on again. 1 second. I also want to talk about supplementary repertoire. Many teachers would agree that one of the most difficult parts about teaching group classes is that not every student moves at the same or progresses at the same rate. So you've got those students that practice every day and they're wanting more to practice, more to learn, and I have found that supplementary repertoire is a way to do that. So I periodically will just make a score analysis video and a demonstration video, and it's not something that we will ever cover in class. It's just if a student wants to do this on their own, they're welcome to watch the videos and have something extra or supplementary. So I'll give you a little example of how each one of these videos sounds, and then I would share these videos with students in a variety of ways. I could put it on Google Drive, and I know that Dr. Emily McGree is going to be sharing a little bit about how she uses Google Drive in her presentation. Or if my videos are short enough, I can simply just email them. So it really does depend on the size. So here is an example of a score analysis video that I might supply for students in a group class.
This is the tutorial for the can-can on page 36. At first glance, you can see the word allegro written above the piece. Allegro is the Italian word for fast, so we know the general tempo of this piece will be quick. The time signature is 4/4, giving us a summary, a quick look at the beginning telling us that there will be 4 beats in each measure all the way through. And then our key signature is 1 sharp. We have 1 sharp in the treble staff, 1 sharp in the bass staff. Those sharps are always the same. This is an F sharp, E, G, B, D, F. The sharp is on the F line. This is also an F sharp. Line between the dots is always an F. Whatever sharp is up here in the treble staff will always be the same sharp that is present in the bass staff. What does that mean? That means anytime the composer has written an F all the way through here, you have to remember to play an F sharp instead of an F natural. So going through quickly, I'm going to be looking out for F sharps. I find it helpful just to mark them so I don't forget. The only sharp that you have in this piece happens to be down here in measure 7. Here's an F, F, A, C, E. Those are the spaces of the treble staff. And I just wrote a sharp in front of that note to remind myself not to play the white key, F natural, but to play the F sharp, the half step up and to the right. Okay, we're going to listen to this piece together, and as we listen, I'm going to point to each note, and I'm either going to say right or left. So we start with our left hand because our notes are first present in our bass staff, and then we go up into our right hand, and then we switch down into our left hand. Also, as we listen, you can easily follow through the first ending and the repeat, then back into the second ending. So 8 clicks and we're in. Just following along. It's helpful if you tap right hand and left hand as you go. Left, 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 right, 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 left, 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 right, 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 left, back to the beginning. Left, 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 right, 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 left, 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 left. Moving on to the second ending. It's pretty quick in your book. So notice we played all the way through here. We did the second ending. This repeat here tells us to go back to the beginning. And then we jump to the second ending. We had a similar first and second ending when we played.
I'm going to pause it right there. So I'm just leading the student through a piece as I would in class, but this is extra. So they get the same amount of information outside of class as they would in class at their own discretion. Then I would also pair a demonstration with it so they could see my hands at the keyboard just like they saw the way that I analyzed the score.
The can, page 36. Back to the beginning. Second ending.
And I often leave the metronome on during my demonstrations because I do want the students to use metronome as they play as well. So today I have talked about video partners, listening, and supplementary repertoire. And at this time, I will turn it over to Dr. Emily Book McGree to share some additional ways to keep students engaged between their lessons and classes. Emily.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to get my PowerPoint up here, so bear with me for just a second so that you can see the things that I will be talking about today. So I'm going to address, let me get this back to the beginning, 3 different things today. So the first is practice packets that I send home with all of my group class participants, and I'm talking about my K through 12 graders. I do something a little bit different for my adults. I'm going to talk about practice guides. And I'm also going to talk about Flipgrid and how you can use this to keep students energized throughout the year, throughout the week rather, between their classes. So the first is practice packets, and I'm actually going to turn off my background if I can. It's not going to let me do screen share. Okay, I'm going to hold it up, all of the materials up in front of me and hope that you'll be able to see that. So this is an example of what I might send home with students. So you can see there's a 3-ring binder here. And when I open that up, I've got a few different things. There's a pencil pouch in here with a bunch of different materials. And then I also have a schedule of all of their classes, in addition to any studio policies that I want them to keep on a regular basis. So on the PowerPoint, I give you an example of what I might include in the practice packets. So again, it looks like this. It's something that can clip right into their binder so that they don't lose it, which is always a thing with kids. And in addition to that, I usually include a dry erase board that has the staff on one side and then a whiteboard on the other side. So if I'm asking them questions, especially if they're remote, it's very easy for me to get an answer back from them because the whole class can write their answer on their whiteboard, hold it up, and then I'm able to quickly assess if they understand what's going on. In addition to that, I also have 2 different sizes of Post-it notes. So I usually include something like this so that I can cover or have them cover up a certain measure number if we're focusing on just a small section. And for my adults, it's a really good stop point. So I want you to practice up until this point because my adults usually want to play the whole piece. So this ensures that they have a very specific stopping point. And I also include these so that students can put these on top of their page of the book that they're working on. And that allows them to flip directly to the point that they need to practice. Forgot to mention, I usually include some game materials in their binder as well. So this is an example of Rhythm on a Roll, which I got from Leila Viss's website. And that particular game, which we're going to talk about in a future webinar, hopefully, is testing students on their rhythm reading. So that's a really good way to send them home with some games that they can do throughout the week. I always include a dice. So this can be a really easy thing for especially younger students. They've got to roll the dice, and that's how many times they have to play their exercise for that day. They can also do a game with their parent at home where if they roll the dice, they get a 6. They have to play their piece. If they play everything correctly, they get the 6 points. If they don't, then their parent gets the 6 points. So that's kind of a good way to keep them energized throughout the week. Pencil highlighter and a dry erase marker. I already mentioned the dry erase board. Paper clips. I usually put 5 in there. So this is another good way to have them keep track of how many times they've gone through an exercise. So once they do it correctly once, they can take out their first paper clip, add their second paper clip whenever they have completed the second time, so they have a tangible way to keep track of the number of times they have practiced something. I know it sounds weird, but I usually put chopsticks in here because they can break these apart really easily and then tap together. So when we're doing rhythm exercises, it's a really easy and cheap way for them to do that at home. I have 2 different sizes of erasers. One is our traditional pink eraser that I'm sure all of you have around the house. And this is a really easy way for them to put on top of their hand so that you can address wrist position. And then you can also put it on the bottom of the keys if you've got a student who's always going like this, and you can say, don't touch the eraser. And then I do little pencil top erasers too, so that they can map out either a scale or a 5-finger pattern. Or for my students who are beginners, adults and kiddos alike, they can put this on all the C's on their piano. So it's a good way for them to be able to represent where they're going. Marbles, again, for finding different hand positions or keys on the piano. Clothespins to practice our finger circles and our bottom knuckles, as well as finger number staff paper, and then stickers as a nice little reward for them to do through the week. Practice guides. So these are a really important device I've found to make sure that students are practicing efficiently and effectively throughout the week. So you'll see an example here of an adult group piano practice guide, and this is from, we use Brenda Dillon's wonderful piano fun book for my classes. So that's what all of these materials are from. So this really helps students remind them what we did during class, which we all know we forget, especially if you've got an hour-long class, you're not going to remember everything. And then I also use this to provide extension ideas throughout the week. So sometimes this might be a listening exercise. Sometimes it might be a challenge piece that they can look at if they have moved through the material that we've covered in class. Sometimes I'll put composition activities on them, and sometimes just a new way to practice. So for example, if this isn't working, try this. So it's a good resource for them to go to throughout the week to keep them moving and motivated week to week. I also have started communicating this via Google Drive now since the time of COVID, right? Because if you have students in person, you might not always want to hand out paper products or just makes it easier to email it out. I do everything during Google Drive, so my remote students have one link throughout their entire session that they can go to, and I update the practice guide for them. So I'm going to give you a little tour around Google Drive, because I know we had some questions about that last time, so hopefully this will help.
During the last couple of webinars, we had quite a few questions on Google Drive and how to access a Google Drive. So I'm going to quickly show you how to do that, as well as what I use my Google Drive for to communicate practice guides and other things for my students directly. The first thing that you'll need is a Gmail email address. These are super easy to open and free, so if you don't have one yet, that will be your first step. This is not an email address that you need to use on a regular basis, but one that you'll need for Google Drive. If you look in the top right-hand corner of your inbox, you will see a group of dots. If you click on that, there will be a Drive icon below. That will open your Google Drive. At the top of my Google Drive, this is how I have my settings. You see quick access things. These are docs that I have opened recently or docs that I typically open during this time every week. I also have some folders below, and this is how I keep my drive organized so I know exactly where to go when I'm looking to find something. I'm going to show you an example of our level 1 group class. So once I opened this folder, you will see another group of folders, and I'm going to open my group class practice plans. And this is where I keep all of the practice plans for students in each group class. We have 3 levels down at Lamont School of Music, so that's why you see level 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to open the level 1. And this gives you an example of the assignment that the students will have prior to next week. You will see practice steps, you'll see page numbers for repertoire pieces that they need to practice. You'll also see some extension ideas to kind of keep them engaged throughout the week. If they need a challenge, there are usually challenge pieces listed or YouTube videos that they can go to either watch a performance of the song that they are playing, or an extension from what we're talking about in class. For example, this week at the bottom, I included a YouTube on Korean instruments to extend the students' knowledge about different types of instruments that might be out there. We use Piano Safari in these series, and I found this to be very helpful during the time of COVID because they have an extensive YouTube video collection. So I can share those videos with the students. They typically have instruction videos and performance videos. And these will show students, kids playing the own repertoire pieces that they are working on. And I find that to be very inspiring for them. I want to show you one other example of a way that we use Google Drive. So I'm going to go back to my home screen for the Lamont music program that we have down there and show you the 20-piece badge challenges. These are ways that you can still award stickers to students and do it remotely for those of you who are still learning over the computer or Zoom or whatever your modality is. These are downloaded directly from Leela Vis's website. And she got the idea, I believe, from Compose Create. So these are 20-piece challenges. So you can amend this to be 30-piece or a 40-piece. And we have badges here where I have students, individual rows. And once they perform a piece for their group class, they get a badge. So each of our students are working towards a 20-piece challenge this year.
Yes.
These are examples of different ways that you can use Google Drive. One of the really wonderful things, you can update them in
That's fine.
once you share the file with the students and you can select that they can only view the file instead of editing the file, you can update things in real time throughout the week. So if you need to add a YouTube video or extra practice steps, you are free to do that. I find this to be really helpful in communicating during the time of COVID and just regular times too. So hopefully this was helpful.
All right. I will also mention, I use Google Drive for a lot of games for my students as well. And we're going to be talking about that in future webinars too. So hopefully you'll get a nice glimpse of Google Drive again. Another source that I use a ton is Flipgrid, and this is really wonderful for sharing performances midweek. And I'm going to give you a little tour around that website too.
I'm going to give you a quick tour around Flipgrid, which is a website that I use quite frequently in both my group classes and in my private lesson studio. Those of you with elementary school children are likely already pretty familiar with this website, but for those of you who are not, I think that you will find this to be a valuable resource. I typically use this for one of three things: practice partner videos for students to share midweek performances with each other, assessment opportunities for my private lesson studio, which we typically do in person, but this year is going to be happening online due to COVID, and online recitals, which you'll see at the bottom of your screen. Each of these groups gives you the option to add multiple topics if you'd like to have a separate topic for each week of practice partner videos, or you can choose to delete them every week, like you see that I have done here. To the right, you can also have the ability to hide the whole group, which you can do also with any student response or topic that you create, to share links publicly. And on the far right, you have action options like sending the whole group a message or downloading a recording from the group to share elsewhere. I'll quickly show you how easy it is to make a group too. You simply hit create group, and then you have the option to make the group private or public. To give accessibility to your students, you can either send out the link that they give you, have them enter the group with their email address, which you can input during the group settings, or a username that you can also personalize. This is usually the option I choose, as most often I use this for practice partner videos, so my groups tend to be private. Now, a lot of you asked about online recitals in the previous webinars. This can work equally well through YouTube, Zoom, and lots of other modalities, but my K-12 students voted this past spring and they elected to have theirs on Flipgrid. I actually think this worked quite well because it allowed them to share with friends and family members who could watch specific videos instead of the entire studio and leave feedback for the student that they chose to watch. I'll click on the bottom option here, which was our spring recital, to give you an example of how this works. You can see that the recital is the only topic that I have listed for this particular group. Once I click on the topic, I can view all of the student recordings. Each student can record directly into the website or upload a video if they choose. They will also have to take a selfie for their video, which most of them really love to do. I'll click on Holly's video here, so you can see an example of the sound quality.
Hi, I'm Holly, and this is Diabolic Suggestion by Coffee at Night.
As you can see, the sound quality is quite good for an online platform like this, so it worked quite well for our recital. The other thing that students found really cool about this was the ability to like or to leave comments for the performances that they loved. If you're using this for an assessment opportunity, the instructor also has the ability to score or just to comment directly to the student. After students or family members watch the video, they have the option to go to the very next recording, or they can go back to their home screen. I'll also mention that this is something that I typically use for my K through 12 students. My adult students generally send practice partner videos via text or FaceTime directly with each other to share. I hope this was a little bit helpful in showing your way around Flipgrid.
All right, so I also want to mention, this doesn't have to be just for performances. You can also have students answer discussion questions. So if you want to give them a music history assignment, they can share a composition that they've done or do an improv example. Anything like that can be recorded via Flipgrid. So hopefully that will give you guys a new tool to use if you're not already familiar with this. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, my wonderful colleague, Dr. Rebecca Bellelo.
All right, thanks, Emily. And good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rebecca Bellelo, and I am joining you today from Baton Rouge. And I'm going to do a quick screen share here to get my PowerPoint on. Great. Okay, and I think we're ready to go. So when I was teaching 100% online back at the end of the last school year and through summer, I ventured into the world of video making. And so this is what I'm going to talk with you about today. Several of my adult students asked me if I could make video tutorials so they could have these to practice at home between their lessons and between their classes. Of course, they wanted to listen to the pieces, but they also really wanted to be able to watch my hands and to be able to pause videos, really check some things closely on their own timing. Usually in class, my adults will just pull out their phones and record something that I'm playing or that I'm demonstrating, and they do that from their own phones just with me right in class. So I knew this would be a big help for them at home, like I said, when we were all online. And so they asked me to do that. And so I'm going to walk you through how I made these video tutorials. And then I'm also going to talk about how I made some of the ensemble collaboration projects. So those are where everybody has their own videos that they've recorded, and then it's all compiled together to make like one performance piece at the end. So let me show you a video tutorial, and then I'll tell you how I did this. Hi everyone, this is Hold My Hand on page 20 and 21 for 50 impressions. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll pause it there. Okay, so for these videos, there we go. So for these videos, I'll tell you what I used. I wanted to use a digital piano because I wanted to be able to connect my piano to my computer in order to use that software that you saw with that on-screen software application. So I used a Yamaha hybrid piano, but any digital piano would be fine, and then using a USB cable to connect to your computer. Okay, and then that interactive software that you saw with that on-screen keyboard, that program is called Internet MIDI, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. I also used an overhead camera, so that was attached to a big boom mic stand that just hung above my head. And that was the camera that I have is a Logitech C920, but any external camera would be fine to use. So then to capture my hands playing, you need some type of video in your computer. I just opened my Zoom, like a Zoom meeting. There was nobody else in it, of course, but I just opened my Zoom application like in a meeting. And then that was my picture that I had on my computer. And then I used screen capturing software to actually make the movie. And I have a Mac computer, so I used QuickTime for that.
So let me mention these on-screen keyboard programs and what these are. There's two different ones that you could look at if you were interested in this. One is called Classroom Maestro. This is an online blackboard. And again, you have to use it with a digital piano. That's how it knows what you're playing on the instrument. But it is a great option. And even for online lessons, only the teacher has to have that, and you could do a screen share with your student. So it will show what you see here. It will show the music staff as well as the keyboard. You can show single notes. You can show intervals, chords, chord progressions, scales, even hand positions, but it's very flexible. It's very customizable, and just lots of applications for it. I thought I was going to use this for those videos at first, but I found that it wasn't as responsive to all of the notes, like in time when I'm playing a repertoire piece. The notes on the keyboard didn't move quickly enough with me. So I switched and I used Internet MIDI. So this is what Internet MIDI looks like. Now, Internet MIDI is actually meant for online teaching. It's connectivity software that will connect two MIDI capable instruments together. If you want to know, I've actually used Internet MIDI for many years teaching online. So if you want to know more about that, I would be glad to talk with you and give you some more information about that. But just for my purpose, I used it for my videos. And I will say this is the website where both Classroom Maestro and Internet MIDI, it's available at timewarptech.com. And I think they are running a special for purchase at half off, I think through the end of the year for both of these programs. So again, I'll show you what my video looked like. That's the Internet MIDI screen on the back. And I had my Zoom program open to see the video there of just my hands. And I would hit QuickTime on my computer. And then that's that video that came out as I recorded it. So what did I do with these videos after I made them? Wants to play as I hit that forward button. I did first use Google Drive. I was uploading these videos to Google Drive. I found that my uploads were taking a really long time, and I wasn't patient enough for that. So I wanted to find just an easier way to get those videos uploaded and shared with my classes. So then I went to just to make a private YouTube channel, and I put all my videos there. And then I found a website that I could make like a central hub for all of my resources that I wanted all of my classes to have. And that's called Wacolet.com. It's a great place, similar to Google Drive, but it just is a central hub for all of the resources that I wanted my classes to have. They call them a collection. So you make a collection page, it's free. You just make your account and then you can set up whatever collection that you want. It's very flexible. You can post website links. You can post just simple text boxes, pictures. Of course, you could link like YouTube videos, anything from your Google Drive or OneDrive. You could upload PDFs. It even has an option to connect Flipgrid to this as well. So that's my collection there on that website if you wanted to check that out. But that's just a one-stop place for all of my resources for my classes. So I've really enjoyed putting everything there, and I'm still using that for my classes even now that we've moved away from all online. So let me show you now about my video ensemble collaborations. This was my first experience trying these. And so I first did one with one of my adult classes because they enjoy playing ensembles together when we're in one room together. And we wanted to try to extend that to when we were online. So I'll walk you through what my students did and then what I did, and I'll show you the project at the end of how it came out. So my students, we picked our duet, and they learned their parts at home. We used the book Famous and Fun collection. So we just picked a duet from here. It was the Skater's Waltz. And even for a duet, we just doubled up on some of the parts. And so my students were working on their parts. So at home, they had to practice with a recording. So instead of a metronome, this was really important. They had to practice with a recording that I had made. So I recorded the primo part, I recorded the secondo part, and I recorded both of them together. So that's what they had to practice with at home, because that makes a little bit of a difference than just having the metronome on. And of course, we had to decide what speed we did want to take for the final performance. We also talked about when the students were recording their part at home, they have to have 2 devices to do this. So one is their listening device. They were to put that background track on, and they had to listen with either headphones or earbuds, because they didn't want that to be actually in their recording. So one device was their listening device, if that was their laptop or iPad or whatever, but that was to have that background track on with their headphones or earbuds. And then their second device was their recording device. And just, their iPad or their phone was fine to record. So everybody did that. And then they sent me their videos. One other important thing, the students were instructed they had to count off before they started their playing. So they had to say 1, 2, 3. That was really important. So then they made the recordings, and they sent them all to me. And I used iMovie to compile my videos. Any movie making software program will work. There are a couple of apps I've seen that will do this, but I wanted some more flexibility. And so I was putting it together myself on iMovie. So here's how I did this on iMovie. The first step you do is you pick your background. You have to have a background for your movie. It can be just a plain white screen, a black screen. It can be something more fun. So this was my background for Skater's Waltz. I wanted to tie into the theme there. And then the boxes, those borders are where I was going to put each individual person's recording, each individual person's movie. So that's what those borders are. That was really helpful. So you'll import this into iMovie, and then you need to stretch it out to be the time of the length of the piece. So if the whole piece is about 1.5 minutes, you need to stretch it out to maybe 2 minutes. So this is literally your first movie. This background for the 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes. Okay, I just wanted to show you that's your first movie, and then you export that. Okay, then you'll start with that movie and import you'll layer one movie on top of that. So this will be your second video with only one person's now. There we go. So then you'll export that. And so each time you'll layer in one other video on top. Oh, it does that again. Sorry, kind of get stuck there. This is the third one now.
1, 2, 3.
There we go. So again, you'll export this. You would start with that one and then layer in that next video on top. In iMovie, that's called Picture in Picture. That's how you would do that. Okay, so I'll show you our final video. It is not perfect, but we learned a lot doing this. I really think what happened is a student decided to listen with a metronome instead of one of the recordings in the background. So you'll hear it's just a little bit clunky. It's not quite together, but you know, when we were at home, this was our way to still connect and have one goal that we were trying to get this together. So I do think it was a good learning experience. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of fun. So here it is.
One, 2, 3.
Good. All right. I was proud of them. They learned a lot about recording when they have to make recordings at home. That was a big challenge for my adults. I'll show you one last video I've done with some of my high school private students, and I have 3 of the 4 parts of this quartet, Champagne Toccata by William Gillick. This is a fabulous quartet. If you're interested in doing one, this is a great one. So this is 3 of the 4 parts. I'm waiting on that 4th student to get that part in. So here is just one more for you to see.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, really fun, really fun. So I hope that was something that maybe you can try with your students, either videos, tutorials, or the video ensemble projects. I'm going to turn this back over to Emily now, and she's going to give us we're going to have some time to go to breakout rooms now, and we can discuss and ask any questions to fellow teachers. So I'm going to stop my screen share, and I'll turn this back over to Emily now.
All right, so I'm going to send you into breakout groups, and what I'd like you guys to talk about in your group is what resources you use in between your lessons or your group classes that you teach. You're going to have about 6 minutes, so kind of quick, and then we're going to ask you to come back. If we have time at the end, I'll ask one group to volunteer and tell us about their group discussion, but the rest of you will ask for you to post your ideas in the chat box, so that way we can all benefit from everyone's breakout group. So here we go. All right, so as you come back from your groups, hopefully you had some great discussions. If anyone would like to share from their group, go ahead and raise your emoji hand, which is in your reactions button at the bottom of Zoom, and we'll see if we can to listen to a group or two here. So as soon as you raise your hand, I should be able to see you if anyone would like to share. If not, I would definitely encourage you to include comments from your group in the chat box so that we can all benefit from your group discussion. See, I don't see any hands yet. Nan and Rebecca, I'm going to pick on you in a minute here if I don't see any hands raised. All right, Nan, do you want to share with us what your group discussed about?
Sure. We had a discussion about video partners, and if you are not a particularly technically savvy person, that would be a really nice place to start, because you don't have to know how to do that. You can just tell your students, you have to make a video and send it to this person, and they're the ones that then would be responsible for that. So for those of you who just might feel like, wow, that was a lot of technical information, I'm not sure if I have all the software or if I have the time and to learn all that, the learning curve is pretty steep for some of these things, that's a really nice place to start. So we did mention that. And then we also talked a little bit about how we went through about how in Rebecca's discussion or her presentation, how one student had the earphones in and was listening to the opposite part. So if someone was playing secondo, they were listening to primo, and I'm assuming that Rebecca had the count off of 1, 2, how to count off, and that's exactly how they stayed together. So we kind of just broke a few things down and talked about that as well.
Awesome. All right, Rebecca, would you mind sharing with us a little bit about your group?
Yeah, sure. So I had a few questions about ensemble playing also and about some of the recordings. So a little bit of what Nan was even just saying. So those recordings that the students were listening to, I just made like an audio recording on my phone, just using like voice recording. I would just, so it wasn't even a video. It was just the voice recording because I just wanted that sound. I just wanted them to have the recording to be able to play with at home. And I could text it to them. I could email them, but I could text it to my students. And really, I let them pick if they wanted to practice with the primo part. Like if they were playing the primo part, they could turn the primo part on at home and just play right along with me. They could also play with the secondo part. And then somebody asked, how did I play the primo and the secondo part together? So remember, I was using a digital piano, so I could hit record on my digital piano, play one of the parts, and then play that from the digital piano while I played the other part. So then you were hearing both. And again, I could just capture that on my phone, and that would just be like an MP3 or MP4 file, and I could text that to my students. And I think one of the hardest things with ensemble playing sometimes is to know what it sounds like all together. So that's what I was sending my students, and you're right, that's what they were listening to in their earbuds or headphones.
All right. Thanks, ladies. Hopefully you guys had some good group discussions. I know that was a pretty short period of time, but that's all we have time for today. We will have future webinars that, Nan's going to pop up our future webinars so that you have those dates again. And we just want to thank you all for joining us today. We know how busy everyone is and how crazy things can get, especially during the time of COVID. So thank you for spending your hour with us. It was wonderful to see all of your faces, and do join us in the future. We hope to see you again soon. And then there are dates and the topics that we'll be talking about as well. The recording from today's presentation will be on the National Piano Foundation's website tomorrow or the day after, so by the end of this week. So thank you so much for joining us. And
Emily, are you always at the same time?
Yes, always at the same time. Yes.
Mine was an hour different. It said 1 o'clock Eastern, and we started at 2. And I was able to join, but it was confusing. Did I not understand it correctly?
You found us. I wonder if did it say Central Time or did it say Eastern Time? Because we have a bunch of different time zones going, and I wonder, because National Piano Foundation is in Central Time, and I wonder if that's where the 1 o'clock came from.
Yeah.
But I'll chat with National Piano Foundation about that to see if we can clarify that for future webinars.
So our Easter time, our East part is 2 o'clock. So.
Yeah, it's going to be 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Central. And
that would be helpful. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Emily, I'm sorry. How do we access the National Piano Foundation information? I found this through MTNA.
Yeah.
Me too. Me too.
So if you go to, I believe Nan put the website in the chat box.
I did. I'll do it again.
Yeah, at the bottom there, so that you should
be able to do it. So it's right the first thing. Yeah, I'll put it right in again, and you can go there, and it's the first thing. So as soon as you go to the website, it's the first thing that pops up. There will be recordings of the webinars that we've recently done, and then there's a place for you to register for the webinars that are upcoming.
But it also goes to NMTA?
It's supported by the National Piano Foundation, which is why these recordings are on the National Piano Foundation website. But you will get an email from MTNA about upcoming webinars and how to join them. Yes.
Perfect.
Great.
All right.
Thanks so much.
We need to be
joining us, everyone. Have a great rest of your Thursday.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.